our YouTuber here with Nate. He won our hat locals with wind-up artifacts. You lost round 1 and won the whole thing, right?
Yes, I lost my run.
Do you want to tell us why you chose to play this deck?
I love this deck. I love wind-ups. It's one of my favorite decks ever. I play all the formats where it's actually good in, and this format, it's got a lot of neat synergies that makes it work. So this is probably the last time this deck ever works. So I play it.
All right. Shout-outs before we get started.
Shout out Epic Cards and Games and the DFW retro scene. We got one of the best in the country, in my opinion. Got a lot of YCS champions that show up.
All right, man. Let's get it.
So first, Wind-Up Magician. This is limited to 1, so you only play the 1. I might play 2. There's a lot of OTKs that you can do with 2, but I already brick enough on this one as it is, so I'm not sure about it. But this is a lot of the starters and a lot of the OTKs.
This card's limited, right?
It's limited, yes.
Okay.
And before we get this out of the way, carriers banned in this format, so there is no carrier. So you get one of these, no carriers. All right. 3 Wind-Up Rabbits. This card is what gets a lot of the engine going. It lets you dodge a lot of removal. It creates rat loops. For a while, I was only playing the 2 because you don't really like seeing more than 1 in the hand, but I went back up to 3 because this card is just too good. Blinking out a lot of stuff. It gets in for a lot of poke damage. 2 Rat. Rat, there's a lot of loops with it. You use it a lot, make a lot of 1 card exceeds. The reason I'm running 2 is there's a couple brick problems with this deck I haven't quite figured out yet. Right. So, like, it doesn't interact with Mage at all. It doesn't interact with some of the other cards in the deck until you get set up. So if you run too many cards that require setup, the deck starts breaking a lot. So I'm only running 2 Rabbit, and you just have to be very conservative with your Rabbits. I use Rabbit a lot to, revive something with Rat, then blink out the Rat so I can reuse it later. So I have to be very careful about my 2, but I only play the 2.
Okay.
3 Wind-Up Shark. This is the best wind-up. I'd play 8 of these if you let me. So much of this deck, I could just make so many more plays if I had another Shark in my hand. But yeah, you special summon it. It goes up, it goes down. It makes 3s, 4s, 5s. It's where a lot of the toolbox come from. 2 Warriors. This comes in. This is part of the synergy with some of the later parts of the deck. It also allows me to make a bunch of rank 5s. And there's a couple OTKs that involve having at least one of these in decks. So I started out playing the 1 I thought it was just a Garnet, so I was only playing the 1. And the more I've played this deck, the more I've really liked having 2. At some points, I've played all 3. The good thing about this is that it can target itself to go up to 5, or it can target any other wind-up monster to boost it. So, like, you'll res it with Rat, switch Rat, revive Warrior, and then use Warrior to boost Rat to 5 and make a level 4.
All right.
So that's it for the wind-ups. There's not enough playable wind-ups in this format to make a pure wind-up deck, so you have to hybridize it with the artifact deck. So the artifacts, I'm running 3 Moral Talk, 3 Beagle Talk.
Right.
I feel like 5 is the best ratio. You need to see these. A lot of games can be won just based off of throwing artifacts at them instead of the wind-ups. But these have a lot of synergy with the level 5s. I have like 5 monsters that turn themselves into level 5. So if I leave an artifact floating around, I can turn it into a rank 5 afterwards. So that's where most of the synergy with the artifact engine comes in. There's a couple OTKs also that work if I have a floating artifact and I have Mage Shark in hand. And then for the rest of the monsters, just 3 Max Cs.
Right.
This deck can have a little consistency problems. A lot of times this just trades 1 for 1, but I'm good with that, and it stops a lot of degenerate decks. A lot of people at locals are playing Sylvans, playing Lightsworn Rulers. Yep. So online, I tend not to play these, but in real life, I'm definitely playing all 3. It's a good card, at least in our locals meta.
Okay.
For the spells and traps, 3 Wind-Up Factory. This card is broken. This makes this deck incredibly hard to outgrind. You have to. It's like Black Whirlwind, except better, because it only triggers on effect. A lot of effect negation in this format does not negate the activation, so I still get a factory if I activate the effect and you breakthrough skill it. So a lot of games today, I can just grind out with Wind-Up Factories. I just throw 1 Wind-Up at a time at them and search again. 3 Ignition, supporting the artifact engine. Also targeted removal, especially against floodgates. A lot of floodgates work on this deck. In a couple of videos Oscar's put out on this one, he got me good with floodgates. Right. So I didn't see any of these to answer his rivalry. So, and 2 Double Cyclone, same reason. Like I said, just getting a single artifact out there is really good in this deck because I can do a lot from a single artifact. 2 Duality, just a consistency card. There's a lot of turns where I just normal summon Rabbit or set a bunch of cards and pass, so this is good. And then 1 Soul Charge. I don't even necessarily like the 1 Soul Charge. This is not a good Soul Charge deck. I need my battle phase most of the time. So the fact that I have to give my battle phase, and none of my cards make good end board cards. A lot of my stuff gets outed very easily. So
yeah, I get it.
It actually came back in for this tournament. It came up good a couple times, so I might just leave it at 1. But otherwise, I'm not a fan of Soul Charge in this deck. And then for the spells and traps, we got all the broken 1-ofs. 2 Treacherous Trap Holes. My worst matchup with this deck is Gear Gia, and it's not close. So these are mainly for Gear Gia.
You beat I know you beat Henry.
I beat Henry on Gear earlier.
Right.
This is so good against Gear X, and that's where I really get kind of stuck against that deck,
Right.
as well as answering armor. So, like I said, it's a bad matchup. A lot of people play it, so I have to put main deck these. Then after that, I got 3 Artifact Sanctums, supports the Artifact Engine. Card's broken. Would never play less than 3. And then 3 Call of the Haunted. This is better than Soul Charge in this deck because it's actually interaction and it's a way to special summon cards that doesn't eat my battle phase. The fact that special summons an attack is actually pretty convenient because a lot of my stuff like Rat only works when it's in attack mode. So I honestly like these better than Soul Charge. So that's the main deck. For the side deck, I'm playing 2 DD Crow. This card is really good in this format. Answers a lot of stuff. I like having extra hand traps, especially against like mermails. A lot of matchups, I'll slide both the Maxis and the DD Crows in. I'm playing 2 Forbidden Lance. I'm not sure about these. I'm mainly using this as like a go second card against Gear to try to force my stuff through their traps.
Right.
But in general, I don't tend to play this against like Artifact Trap Tricks decks, but otherwise, I'm not impressed with them, but otherwise, they're pretty good. Speaking of Gear, I'm playing all 3.
3 knocks?
Mind Control. 2 knocks and Mind Control. Okay. Yeah, I don't like Gear. I have no good answers to armor that don't require committing a lot of resources, so Knock's good against that. Mind Control,
you can exceed with armor, right?
What?
Exceed with armor?
Yeah, that's the intention. And I have I can go up to 3 or down to 5 pretty easily, so I was trying this main deck, but in the end, I just wanted to answer armor, answer some of their other stuff. And then 1 Dark Hole, because why not?
Gear too, right?
Yeah, Gear going second mainly. So for the spells and traps, 2 Wiretap, mainly for Artifact Trap Tricks Mirror. Really good. I actually like it way better than the Lance in those matchups, which is why I'm not sure about the Lances. This is a pretty good card though. 2 Debunk. It kills a lot of stuff. Kills mermails, kills Artifact Trap Tricks Mirrors. I can have some problems with hands sometimes. This kills hands too. Okay. And the last card is 1 Needle Sealing. Again, we got a lights.
You're only on 1.
I'm only on 1. So there's a lot of Lights 1 Rulers, a lot of Sylvans.
Right.
This is pretty good against Gear too because you can use this Chain Link 2 to make all their stuff miss timing. So I like this card. I'm not sure I would play more than 2, but it may come in over Lances. I don't know. I'm deciding 2 extra deck cards because this is the hardest extra deck I've ever had to make. I would easily put 25 Exceeds in here if you let me.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. You threat 3, 4s, and 5s, right?
So I just put the 2 that I need sometimes, but not always. So I got Rhapsody and Berserk. It's basically a rank 4 DD Crow multiple times. There's a couple matchups where it comes in clutch, like Lights 1 Rulers, anything grave based. I use it to snipe a lot of their stuff. And Crazy Box, just for any skill drain deck. Skill drain is another floodgate that can mess me up, but I can make 4s pretty easily, and I can just ride it out behind Crazy Box. So this hardly ever comes in unless I see a skill drain, but it's very good against the skill drain. Then for the extra deck, like I said, this is a very tight extra deck. So for the rank 3s, I got an Equipped Engineer. This is it's the best non-committal rank 3 I could find, and it's not very good at that. I end up in a lot of rank 3s. So it's just kind of in there. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's just in there because I need a good rank 3. Acid Golem. My monsters tend to have really weak attack stats, so having a 3k attack allows it to beat over a lot of stuff, and it's very useful in a lot of cases. Alucard, I don't like Gear. This is exclusively in here for Gear. And then I also have MX Saber Invoker. This is a combo card. A lot of times I'll make a 3 and then make Invoker and then pull it out to make a 5. Nearly every OTK involves this card, so it's a combo card, and it's surprisingly good in the grind game sometimes because I can turn dead rabbits and rats into it. Then for the rank 4s, I have Silent Honor Arc, probably the best rank 4. Answers everything if you let it. Black Ship of Corn, mainly to answer hands. Exciton Knight, this card is crazy, but this card is kind of weird in this deck because I tend to end up with a lot of cards in hand.
You blow up your own factories?
Yes. Yeah. If you make me, I will. But because of factories, I tend to end up with a lot more cards than my opponent. So sometimes this card doesn't see a lot of play, but it's still pretty good in this deck. And then Dweller, it's crazy good in this format. It stays in the main because it answers nearly every deck. And then Diamond Direwolf, again, I don't like your Gia.
Isn't that really good in your deck?
You'd think. So the combination is that you can actually target your own wind-up rabbit with it and then chain the rabbit to banish itself, then destroy for free. I don't think I've ever once resolved that play. It just doesn't come up that often. So it's neat when it works, but like I said, it just never comes up. And the last card is Photon Papaleo Operative. I can't say that. This is a combo card.
Populaperative, I think. Populaperative.
I'll take your word for it. This exclusively comes up with Mage Shark OTK lines. You use it to pull the rat from your deck, switch the rat back to attack, and keep on going. So that's the only time this ever comes up. Then for the rank 5s, Tyrus, it's the best generic rank 5 Exceed. It answers hands very well. Again, I have a big problem with hands. Constellar Pallades, it's the best generic rank 5. Well, not the best generic rank 5. It's the best rank 5 if you can make it. If I can float 2 artifacts and make Pallades, there's a lot. I play 3 calls, a lot of good utility using calls, but it just doesn't come out a lot. Shark Fortress, this is for OTK lines. I got Oscar earlier today, I think, with this card.
Twice, I think.
I get a lot of people with this card. As soon as you have a clear board, this thing swings for at least 4,800, and it usually comes off of MX Saber Invoker.
Yeah.
So this thing usually takes about. So that combo usually takes about 6,000 life off of people. It makes it very hard to greedily soul charge against me because I can just take off so much life very quickly. Speaking of which, the last 2 cards are Volcasaurus and Gaia Charger. These 2 nearly always come out together. You use Volcasaurus to blast them, take 2,100 off their life, then overlay it for Gaia Charger, hit them directly for another 26. Oh, these 3 cards are the main OTK cards. If they have no monsters, Shark Fortress lines come in. If they have 1 monster, Volcasaurus OTK lines come in. And Volcasaurus is just a crazy good card.
All right, Nate. Congrats on winning, and will you continue playing this deck?
Absolutely, I love this deck.
All right, man. See you later.
Have a good night.